Welcome, parents, back to Teenager Tuesday, session 4, talking to your kids about dating, helping them navigate all of that. I just want to welcome back again JD Tomlin. He's here with me, Tisha Solomon. I am the student pastor at the Frisco East Campus. If you are watching on YouTube or trying to watch on YouTube, you will hear the audio, but you will not see the video. That's not YouTube glitching. We are doing audio only during this dating series. We're sad because of our beautiful faces. We would love for you to see them, but the content will still be great. JD, in preparation for this podcast, I know that you had a dinner one night with your kids and just asked them, and those that are married, your kids and their spouses, what were some things that your mom and I did that meant a lot to you, or left an impression where dating was concerned as teenagers? And you now have 4 20-year-olds, or 4 kids in their 20s.
We had quadruplets.
You had quadruplets. Yeah, that wasn't the thing.
We've got a 20-year-old, 22-year-old.
Yeah.
Neither are married. Our 24 and 26-year-old are married.
Okay.
And our oldest has been married for 4 years.
Man.
And our second-born 24-year-old Brooke just got married this summer.
Okay.
And we love having family dinners together. And we're fortunate, if you're just joining us for the first time, that our 3 oldest kids live in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex where Heather and I live.
Yeah.
Our youngest is away at college, but she gets home when she can. And when so, we're all together. So this particular night that privilege happened recently, we sat down and just talked about this topic.
Yeah.
Well before I even knew what we were unpacking in this podcast.
Yeah.
And I loved getting their perspective looking back.
Absolutely.
They're 2 to 4 to 6 to 8 years past their teen years, and their perspectives were really enlightening, as well as were my 2 sons-in-law.
Yeah.
And one of the things that our sons-in-law really had conveyed to me after that night was how much they appreciated that conversation. Not that it didn't take place in their own home,
right?
But wow, to have that kind of depth and honest conversation around the family that they married into, and to not be afraid to have that conversation was
That's
special
huge.
to them. It's special to me as a dad. And when our kids have dated, and including our 2 now that are married, it was always imperative for me to get to know the kids that they were spending their time with.
Yeah, it's so good.
And so we always wanted to be the home where not only just kids enjoyed coming and hang out.
Yeah.
Heather can cook like nobody's business, so that attracts kids.
Yes, it does.
It certainly attracts me.
Yes.
And I love the fact that our kids have always felt comfortable bringing any kid that they took on a date, or if they dated and were in a more serious relationship, that they came to our home, and the kids that they were spending time with loved spending time with Heather and I.
That's awesome.
And I don't say that boastfully.
Yeah.
It's just looking back and the conversations that we've had.
Yeah.
Their kids, their friends, and especially those that they dated, always felt really comfortable around Heather and I.
I love that.
Heather and I just loved treating them as though we treated our own kids.
Yeah.
Having great conversations, having fun together. Game nights are a reality in our home.
Yeah.
Again, I know we're in a different place than a lot of parents listening today are, but we have just made it a point to be very open. So this dinner that we had recently, navigating this conversation, all of the kids really unpacked this, and everyone had a different response, but there was a theme.
Yeah, I love that.
The different
I can't wait to hear it.
responses were appreciation for how we treated each of them differently, how we had one-on-one daddy-daughter dates, or mother-son dates, or my son and I would spend lots of time doing things together that we loved. So with the girls, with Heather. And so time together individually and collectively has always been crucial and important for us. And they always appreciated the fact that they felt supported, encouraged, loved, and cherished. And my kids never have had to guess that I would choose them over anyone else or anything.
That's awesome.
I've chosen, personally for me, again, I'm only speaking from our perspective, I've chosen a career and a lifestyle that allowed me and allowed Heather to be home frequently and often, and placing a priority on trying to have as many meals together as we could, trying to be involved in the kids' activities as much as we could, and just being not helicopter parents, but just involved and available unless they asked us not to be. And so the theme between them all is having the comfort of being themselves and being honest with one another in our family and having harder conversations that might be normal in some families, and not being afraid of having those conversations. And our kids, with the luxury of having 4, they all felt like their siblings were really even kind of their best friends.
I love that.
I know that's not true in very many families.
Yeah, that's pretty rare, honestly.
I think it is. Mm-hmm. And I don't look at it as weird. I just look at it as the fact that we're just a very close family.
Yeah.
And we are excited about the fact that our kids will someday bring someone into their life that gets to be a part of that with us and we with them.
Yeah.
And so our sons-in-laws, their perspectives of both their families and ours had some similar themes as well.
Okay.
Intentional, honest conversations, even when they were awkward.
Yep.
And parents who modeled healthy marriages that they wanted to emulate.
Yeah.
And so I think our kids were drawn to their future spouses who came from somewhat similar families and values. And again, that wasn't a list of standards maybe that our kids necessarily wrote down, but I think it attracted them to someone who also understood what a healthy, communicative family looked like. And then our son Brandon, he said, Dad, our home life always had a direct influence on my dating life.
That's awesome.
And I asked him to unpack that a little bit more with us, and basically he just appreciated that everything that he did, whether it was or was not with someone he dated or he spent time with, the word time was valued and on display, and that Heather and I were not those weird, awkward parents that our kids were embarrassed by.
Yeah.
I mean, we're kind of cool, Tisha.
I know. I think you are. I like spending time with you guys. Yes.
But there is a reason we're not videoed. But I do believe that Heather and I have kind of just sort of losing that cool factor, and I'm okay with that because I am in my mid-50s now.
I don't think you're losing it.
But I do value, and I've always valued seeing and treating our kids older than they were, and kind of staying a stage ahead of them in the conversations and the matured conversations that we had, and I think that really has helped them kind of navigate these topics. And so our daughter Brooke, who recently married, she said that quality time was always so important, and our family time was so valuable that it gave her confidence that didn't need to be filled by a boy, where loneliness can create a void in some kids' lives. And they look for maybe an opposite gender to fill that in a relationship. That got filled by the family togetherness that we had.
Yeah.
And so she didn't have to go looking for that and craving that in another relationship. And I appreciated her saying that. Our youngest daughter, Bethany, who's still in college, Bethany told me that she just valued the fact that her world was dance, and that was just busy. She stayed busy with that. But the friends that brought her and the circles that it put her in, and even to this day, while she's in college and she gets invited to a lot of functions and events, and certainly desires to have a boyfriend but's not rushing it, or doesn't notice that the value of her life hangs on that balance of having a boyfriend. She's okay with that. And all of our kids have always been okay with that. They know that the time will come that someone significant will come into their life, and whether it's just a date night at prom, or a relationship that ultimately is leading to marriage, they know that they have one another as siblings and as brothers-in-law or parents, that they can navigate these conversations with us without fear, trepidation, embarrassment, humiliation, and if things that they faced and challenged that they weren't proud of or wish were different, we can have those conversations without judgment or criticism, and just love one another and just help one another navigate the days ahead. And that's been crucial for our family.
That's so good, JD. I love that so much. I love hearing their perspective, because even in my own life with my own teenagers, mine are I mean, I have a 14-year-old and two 16-year-olds, and none of them have dated yet, but I know that that is going to be the reality of their world before too long, and I want them to be able to be honest with me, and I'm sure there are many parents similar to me who want to make sure that they're cultivating and creating a culture where their kids can be honest with them. And oftentimes, I think we do forget that time in means so much.
Yes.
It means so much to our students, to our teenagers. I think that we just think, well, I'm providing for them, I'm giving them what they need to survive. But even in all the stuff that we can give them, our time is the most valuable thing I think we could give our kids. And I think that it helps shape who they are, to be honest with you.
I think time and our words.
And
I'll
words.
add words.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm going to end at Ephesians 4:29 says, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths. It's not helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it benefits those who listen. Our kids and our family have they've been nurtured and loved. And have I ever had a crossword or said something stupid? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Probably every day. My kids could probably tell you just how many times. But I think it's so important that time and words speak truth and love into your kids, and days ahead will look very different.
Yeah.
Parents, we wish you well.
Yes.
And you can do this.
Yep.
You're not alone. God is with you. And so
are we. We love you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.